So Dan asked me this morning around 11 o'clock if I would be willing to do a presentation, and I was just speaking at Chuck's class last night and told his students to always prepare when you're giving a presentation, and I didn't yet. Oh, you started? Okay.
Go! Oh, wait. I'll start it up. Hold on.
That's fine, whatever. My time is going to be off anyway. So I'm Erik Dahl, I'm an anthropologist and designer here at Lexington. And this is where I work, this is what I do. I was in Brazil for about 3 weeks doing a research project. And one of the things I want to talk to you today about is this idea of just observing and critiquing the world that's around you. So I do it every day, but that's because I've been trained to do it. I think we all do it anyway. My wife kind of nags me for doing it when I actually do it out loud. But these are some of the things that I sort of pick up on and try to bring out into the world. So like I said, I was in Brazil for 3 weeks. I just pulled together sort of 16 observations that I had that you might find interesting. I'm hoping this doesn't sort of end up in a travel log that's sort of looking at someone's boring vacation photos. So one of the things that we noticed down there was that coffee is just everywhere. Everywhere has coffee. You have these little containers. Every store you go in, it's just free. Everyone sort of goes in, takes some coffee, and has a little coffee. Next door you go in, you might have some more. So it's just one of these things that was pervasive in the environment that we don't have here. Communal culture. It was a very communal culture. We'd go out to restaurants in the evenings, and you always pour your neighbor's beer, or the other people that you're eating with, you always pour their beer first before you pour it into your own. So that was something that was just interesting that you don't see here that often. Having been in Nebraska, before I went down to Brazil, the truck stop food down there is much better than it was in Nebraska. It was all handmade, and it was amazing. I think I gained 10 pounds while I was down there. So elevated trash repositories, we saw these all over the place as well. Didn't really understand what they were for until someone said, well, it's so the dogs don't eat up the trash, because they were just wild dogs running around all over the place, or stray dogs, right? So every place had these elevated trash repositories. And fires just seem to be pervasive. Whether it was, so they're burning the sugarcane fields down here. This was a truck that caught on fire right in front of us. And there were just fires everywhere on the side of the road, and everyone's just driving by, no big deal. And food equals meat. And it was good, but like I have never eaten so much red meat in my life. And it was like 3 weeks, constant red meat, red meat, red meat. It was amazing. It was really good, but just like it was too much. Motorcycles, scooters, and hatchbacks. So that was everything down there. It was like a motorcycle, a scooter, a hatchback. They had a couple like big trucks, but mostly, it was small cars, small vehicles. And when you were driving on the interstate, this little like beep, 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 a motorcycle was coming down the dotted line. And the graffiti down there was really amazing. It was all this muralistic graffiti, not a lot of tagging, but all these sort of just murals all over the place. And I only captured just a couple of them, but this is one of the examples. And then there's something really interesting we saw, and I can't go into a lot of detail here, but like this open and closed architecture. So everything had sort of walls around it, right? You see all these walls? But the shops were just open, and there was open air things everywhere. So there was this kind of dichotomy between openness and closeness in the architecture. And then there's this openness and closeness with people. We found out we were interviewing people down there, and it was really hard to get people to open up to us. But yet these people that we were interviewing invited us over just on the spot, made all this food for us, and had us over and like spend another hour or two there just sort of talking to us. It was one of my colleagues in the middle. Function evolves into fashion. So everything had this white paint. It was supposed to repel insects. But it got to a point where concrete telephone poles were painted white as well. So it was like this aesthetic had extended beyond just the function of it. And politics were everywhere. You had people hired on the street corners. There was an election in a month. And everyone you can see, they were remembered by numbers. So all the politicians had a number, and you could just vote by their number. And smoking, seriously frowned upon. If you've been to Europe, you probably see a lot of this stuff as well. But these are just a couple of the packs that are sort of mandated by law that you have to have these anti-smoking campaigns on the cigarette packs. So this one I thought was really interesting. This was on all the tables that was down there. And I didn't really pay attention to what it was, but because of the visual design of it, I thought it was a cleaning product because that's the aesthetic that we have here in the States, but it's actually a sugar supplement you can put in your coffee. And design is everywhere. These boarding passes were great. It told us, what gate we were at, what seat we were in, and what time the plane started or the plane left. And you didn't really have to look for it, which you do here in the States. And this is actually like a farmhouse. And then this idea of thumbs up, like everybody just you finish a conversation, it's thumbs up. And it's weird because we don't do that here in the States. So like everything is like you finish a conversation, thumbs up, great. And for those of you who haven't sort of traveled in business, this was my view for probably about 1,500, 2,000 miles on the trip because we were driving around to lots of different farms. So business travel isn't always glamorous. But you can learn a lot about different things.